Andy Griffith was a natural-born leader, even though he wasn't a former producer or writer for the show. His contributions were invaluable. Meanwhile, Ron Howard rarely speaks in depth about his experience on the Andy Griffith Show, and who could blame him? Growing up on one of the most beloved television series of all time meant fans were always eager for behind-the-scenes details. But after years of keeping quiet about his friendship with Andy Griffith, Ron is finally opening up. Was life in Mayberry really as idyllic as it seemed? Did Andy possess the same warmth and charm as Sheriff Taylor when the cameras weren't rolling? Prepare yourself because Ron's revelations might surprise you. The names Andy Griffith and Ron Howard instantly bring to mind the nostalgic small-town feel of the Andy Griffith Show. However, their connection went beyond fishing trips and heartfelt lessons. While they shared plenty of laughs and touching moments on screen, things were far more complicated behind the scenes. For the first time, Ron Howard is speaking candidly about his experiences with Andy Griffith. And trust me, it wasn't all peaceful Sunday strolls and heartfelt father-son talks. What is Ron finally ready to reveal? What about the whispers of behind-the-scenes tension? Before becoming the acclaimed director of Apollo 13 and A Beautiful Mind, Ron Howard was just a young actor trying to navigate Hollywood. Now, he's shedding light on what really went on when the cameras weren't rolling. Ron, born on March 1st, 1954, in Duncan, Oklahoma, appeared to be destined for the spotlight. What else will you do if your parents work as actors? Start a farm? By the age of 15 months, Ron had already been in a commercial. Most of us were still learning to walk, while Ron was out there nailing his first gig. But when the family relocated to Hollywood, his father, Rance Howard, became his unofficial acting tutor. And if that wasn't enough, Ron's parents offered him front-row seats to live television shows. Ron's early performances, guided by his parents, were not only cute but also polished. So, what does Ron have to say about his actual relationship with Andy Griffith? Stay around. This narrative is going to become even more intriguing. Ron Howard did not end up in Hollywood by chance. He basically grew up in it. Imagine you were 5 years old and landed your first film part in 1959's The Journey. Most children that age are only learning how to tie their shoes. What about Ron? He had already shared screen time with professionals. However, it wasn't until he appeared on Playhouse 90 that people recognized he was rather talented. Critics applauded his performances for their profundity, which you wouldn't anticipate from someone who probably still needed to be reminded to eat his vegetables. By 1960, when Ron auditioned for the Andy Griffith Show, he was already making waves in Hollywood. While his flaming red hair originally drew the attention of a few casting directors, his raw talent and enthusiasm for performing sealed the deal. He received several callbacks early on since his hair made him stand out. Ron rose to prominence after he was cast as Opie Taylor at the age of 6. His on-screen chemistry with Andy Griffith was pure magic. But what transpired behind the scenes was equally essential. Andy took him under his wing, teaching him everything from comedic timing to why character motivations are important. It was more than simply acting training. It was life teachings packaged in comedy charm. And then there was the legendary audition scene. Ron didn't work on the set of the Andy Griffith Show. That's where he learned. While the rest of the students were dealing with recess politics, he was learning about collaboration and storytelling. And honestly, how many youngsters can say they went to work every day and received life advice from Andy Griffith? Andy Griffith's narrative began in the small hamlet of Mount Airy, North Carolina, sometimes known as the template for Mayberry. Andy, who was born on June 1st, 1926, did not have it easy. Growing up during the Great Depression meant meager beginnings, but his parents managed to scrape together enough money to buy him an old trombone. Andy initially aspired to be a music instructor, but life had other plans, and his quick wit and storytelling abilities won him work in nightclubs. His big break was a funny monologue on football, which went viral before the sport even existed. Over 8,000,000 copies have been sold, demonstrating that a good laugh can get you far. That unexpected success propelled Andy into the entertainment industry, where his down-to-earth warmth and humility became his signature. Andy was more than simply a co-star for young Ron Howard Opie. Andy had a knack for making things relevant, frequently interjecting a story or two to emphasize his point. Ron later stated that Andy's advice influenced him professionally and emotionally. They remained close long after the program ended, with Ron frequently calling Andy for guidance. It's safe to say Andy was more than simply a television legend. He was the kind of mentor you'd want. Smart and approachable, with just enough charm to lighten the mood. In a touching gesture, Andy Griffith gave Ron Howard a signed guitar as a token of their relationship, which he still values. Their partnership, founded on mutual respect, is one of Hollywood's best instances of a mentor-mentee relationship. The Andy Griffith Show, which premiered in 1960, immediately became a classic in depicting small-town life and timeless ideals. Throughout its 8th season, it continuously placed among the top-rated shows on television. Andy Griffith's Sheriff Taylor represented compassion and wisdom, whilst Ron Howard's Opie represented innocence and curiosity. They established a beautiful father-son interaction. Behind the scenes, the cast and crew created a welcoming, family-like atmosphere, which contributed to the show's upbeat tone. Did you know that The Fishin' Hole, the show's distinctive whistling theme, is one of the most well-known television songs of all time? While the show entrenched Andy Griffith as a television legend, it also launched Ron Howard's career, laying the groundwork for his future success. Transitioning from a beloved childhood role to adulthood is never easy, but Ron Howard handled it with great grace. When the Andy Griffith Show ended, things felt different. It wasn't just another season finale. This marked the end of an era. Andy Griffith was at the microphone about to speak when it hit him. The tears came. He was crying, and not just a few tears. He sobbed. It wasn't simply about leaving a job behind. It was about a family and a way of life. He knew the performance had been more than just a gig. It was an enormous element of his life. And now that it was all over, he wasn't sure what life would be like without those familiar faces and the reassuring routine. However, in retrospect, his childhood was defined by more than just the program. It was the way his father had transformed an unexpected turn of circumstances into something even greater. His father had gone to California with the hope of finally fulfilling a dream that had been put on hold due to the Korean War. But his big break did not go his way. It came for his small kid, and that twist of destiny turned his father into an acting coach, educating him in ways that only a parent could. This was not your usual acting class. His father explained the craft in simple terms that even a little child could understand. Something simple, yet strong. Even when he was 4 or 5, he was studying the fundamentals of Stanislavski, however simplified. His father would break down a scene, such as Opie attempting to escape his homework, and analyze the feelings conveyed. See, Opie does not want to finish his schoolwork, and his father wants him to. He's simply trying to get out of it. His father would guide him, explaining the character's layers in a way that a toddler might understand. And if there was ever a situation when Opie was getting away with something, he would quickly remind him that it was on TV, not in real life. Don't try this at home. But his father wasn't only an acting coach. He possessed a remarkable gift. He was not afraid of anyone, no matter how powerful they were. He collaborated with superstars such as Andy Griffith, Don Knotts, Aaron Rubin, and Sheldon Leonard. Even with all of these huge names, his father would raise his hand and say, "Hold on, I don't think this is working." Opie comes across as excessively bratty. Instead of laughing, let us make their friendship more genuine. The weird aspect was that they actually listened. Andy and Sheldon heard him out and agreed. That adjustment, the choice to make Opie's relationship with his father more realistic, proved to be a game changer for the show. Fast forward to the last days of filming. He was 14, and the rap party was unlike anything else. The program remained #1, but Andy Griffith was ready to go on. And honestly, he was fine with it. He had other hobbies, including sports, directing, and going back to school. But when the final day of shooting arrived, it felt like a punch in the stomach. At the party, Andy took the microphone, and the tears began to pour. It wasn't merely a show finale. It was the end of a chapter in his life that he had not realized he would miss until that moment. He was bidding farewell to people who had become family, as well as a way of life that had defined so much of his personality, and it stung. Nearly 20 years later, they revived the show for a reunion film. By then, he had moved on. He was directing and had already left happy days behind. Life was different, but Andy begged him to return and play Opie. Of course, he agreed. And when he did, he was reminded that the folks he had worked with previously, the same beautiful people, were exactly as he recalled. The childhood memories remained intact, and the link was as strong as ever. It seemed like no time had gone at all. Moving on, Ron Howard was not willing to ride the Opie Taylor wave indefinitely. He moved on to other parts, including a notable performance in George Lucas's 1973 film American Graffiti. The film's success was loud and obvious. Ron wasn't just the kid from Mayberry anymore. Simultaneously, he began studying at USC's School of Cinematic Arts. Eager to grasp the intricacies of filmmaking, Ron, determined to shed the child star moniker, jumped into directing with Grand Theft Auto in 1977. Not the computer game, but a wild, low-budget film directed by Roger Corman, the master of creating enchantment on a shoestring budget. Then came the huge hits: Splash, 1984, a rom-com with a mermaid that made us believe in love and sea creatures, and Cocoon, 1985, a pleasant sci-fi story about aging gracefully, or not. These successes not only elevated Ron's status as a director, they demonstrated that reinvention in Hollywood is not only feasible, but also crucial. Ron exchanged his small-town charm for big-screen brilliance. To be honest, we are all better off. Ron Howard married Cheryl Alley in 1975, and despite all Hollywood odds, the couple is still going strong nearly 50 years later. Ron and Cheryl are the exception in an industry where marriages might survive as long as a movie. Cheryl, a great writer, became his rock, guiding him through the unpredictable world of entertainment. And, let's face it, Hollywood is no picnic. Together, they formed a close-knit family that included Bryce Dallas Howard, a well-known actress and filmmaker. Even as the red carpets were brought out, the Howards remained firmly planted. Ron attributes his professional success to Cheryl's constant support, and he frequently admits that being a father has influenced his storytelling. This family is more than just tight. They collaborate, attend red carpet events, and most likely have the most fascinating group texts. Ron and Cheryl's marriage is proof that love can endure in Hollywood. Meanwhile, Andy Griffith continued to dazzle audiences after leaving Mayberry. He played a clever yet folksy lawyer in Matlock, demonstrating that Southern charm and a slick suit are timeless. Viewers adored him all over again, and the show became another smash hit. But Andy did not stop there. He also explored his musical roots, releasing country and gospel CDs influenced by his Southern heritage. Despite all of his accomplishments, Andy considered his time in Mayberry to be the pinnacle of his career. He remained close to his castmates, particularly Ron Howard, whom he affectionately referred to as his spiritual son. Andy spent his senior years handling his business and personal life like a pro, ensuring that his legacy as one of America's most beloved performers endured. For Ron Howard, leaving Mayberry brought him directly to Milwaukee in the 1950s, or at least the sitcom version. When Happy Days premiered on television in 1974, Ron transformed into Richie Cunningham, the clean-cut boy everyone wanted as a best friend. The show was a huge success, bringing the world catchphrases, leather jackets, and Fonzie, the coolest mechanic ever. While fans couldn't get enough of Richie, Ron had more ambitious intentions. He spent his free time on set learning everything about directing, and even tried his hand at it with a few episodes. For Ron, Happy Days were more than just acting. It served as the starting point for his filmmaking career, which would eventually define him. Andy Griffith was more than simply the charming sheriff of Mayberry. He was also a mentor who took his duty as a guide very seriously, even when he was not on television. Andy was not the kind to clock out once the camera stopped rolling. He continued to guide young Ron Howard with pearls of knowledge, all delivered with his genuine down-to-earth charm. The two remained close even after the Andy Griffith Show ended, frequently catching up over private conversations or family gatherings. Andy didn't only support Ron's desire of becoming a director. He assured him that breaking Hollywood was like to fishing. It needed patience, effort, and perhaps a little luck. Ron took Andy's counsel to heart as his filmmaking career began with a boom, or rather, a splash. Splash, a fanciful romantic comedy about a mermaid who falls for Tom Hanks, was an unexpected success in 1984. Audiences and critics both enjoyed it, and it appears that everyone was willing to suspend disbelief in a fishwoman romance. It was the kind of film that had the perfect balance of heart, humor, and, wait, is this happening? Moments. Following that, Ron continued to have success with Cocoon in 1985, a film about aging, life, and, weirdly enough, aliens. Now meet Andy Griffith, the guy behind the scenes. While his TV character was friendly and talkative, Andy was more quiet. He respected his privacy and was not one to share his life story with the press. But those who knew him, such as Ron, described him as a man with a wicked sense of humor, excellent manners, and strong values. Andy also has a strong passion for music. When he wasn't giving life advice, he could usually be found strumming his guitar or singing gospel songs. His small-town North Carolina upbringing defined him, and he never allowed celebrity to transform him into someone he wasn't. Ron frequently acknowledged Andy's humility and hard ethic with influencing his approach to life and work. Andy Griffith may have been the world's coolest mentor, what with his life lessons and guitar skills. Andy Griffith was approachable and introspective, which made him popular with everyone he knew. That same quality has rubbed off on Ron Howard, who has become one of Hollywood's most renowned filmmakers. Take the 1995 Apollo 13 mission, for example. If you enjoy suspense and NASA drama, you'll love this film. It's the true story of a failed space mission, which Ron made into a nail-biting show. The film received 9 Academy Award nominations, including Best Picture. Then there's A Beautiful Mind, 2001, which delves into the messy brilliance of mental illness. Not only did it win honors, but Ron also received his first Oscars for Best Director and Best Picture. It's as if the guy has a secret formula for telling human stories on a grand scale. Andy Griffith didn't have things easy in his senior years. He had some major health issues, including a heart attack and Guillain-Barré syndrome, a rare disorder that affects the nerve system. But here's the deal. Andy didn't let anything slow him down. He continued to do what he liked, pursuing his entertainment profession and maintaining in touch with his followers. He frequently discussed how his love of storytelling and labor kept him going, even when circumstances got bad. His grit impressed more than just the supporters. It astounded others like Ron Howard, who admired Andy's ability to remain cheerful despite his health problems. Andy's tireless energy is claimed to have helped him recover from a massive heart attack in the 1980s faster than anyone predicted. Even though he was briefly unable to walk due to Guillain-Barré disease, he continued to give presentations and make appearances. Andy was the guru who could get you fired up, more than any motivational speaker. He would look at Ron and express his pride in the man and filmmaker he had become. And Ron? He suppressed his emotions as he thanked Andy for everything, from job guidance to being a loyal friend. Who wouldn't want Andy Griffith in their corner? The man probably made you believe that you could conquer the world with just a smile and a fishing pole. For Ron, these experiences were more than just touching. They were bittersweet. Andy was more than just a co-star. He was like that wise uncle who knew exactly what to say. Their most recent meetings were calm, with that unsaid intimacy that only comes from knowing someone who understands. Ron cherishes Andy's parting words, clinging to them like an antique, but luckily without the fear of, what if I lose this? Looking back on their friendship, they left an indelible mark on television history with Aunt Bee's pie recipes. Their real-life connection added something unique to the Andy Griffith Show. Fans were not simply watching Sheriff Taylor and Opie. They were observing two people who truly cared for one another. What about the father-son dynamic? It established the gold standard for positive family vibes. Warmth, respect, and excellent communication would make any family therapist proud. Even now, the magic has not vanished. Ron has not let Andy's memories fade either. He's the person who casually inserts Andy's tales into interviews as if he's reminiscing over coffee. He attributes his Hollywood success to the principles Andy taught him, such as respect, kindness, and being calm under pressure. As a director, Ron maintained Andy's spirit on his sets. No diva drama, just a collegial, respectful atmosphere in which even the staff feels like family. It's the type of leadership Andy would have approved of, and it ensures his legacy lives on in every picture Ron touches.